you want to know how my work as a sort of guardian of the exhibition works. I am based in Frankfurt, so I am working for the German Filmmuseum, who is the institution who was initial for conceiving and producing and curating this special exhibition about Stanley Kubrick. The Filmmuseum in Frankfurt has put together the exhibition in 2002, 2003, and we opened it in 2004 at the German Filmmuseum. And it was rather successful in Frankfurt. And then we were very happy that this exhibition concept was pretty much liked, or how can I say, there was some demand coming from other institutions who are dealing with films and film culture, like Cinematheques, similar to Cineteca Nacional, and but also from museums or sites who are having a more broad, say, curatorial approach. So we were bringing this exhibition to the capital of Germany, to Berlin next year. And then we had more international requests coming from Australia, from Belgium, from Switzerland, Italy, France, and also going intercontinental again. We were in Seoul, we were in San Francisco, Los Angeles. And Cineteca Nacional is now the 16th presentation of this special exhibition about Stanley Kubrick, and we are very lucky and we are very proud that this wonderful institution is hosting this presentation now for the next 6 months. So, well, do you want to know about the adaptation of this exhibition to each particular venue? And so let's stay with the elements that are kind of the same. We are dealing with an inventory that changes little, but the core elements are remaining, we can say. So we have made a selection of elements which we considered as the most essential or most important, most significant elements to introduce the significance of Stanley Kubrick's working methods. And so we are introducing his whole career from being a young staff photographer for the Look magazine up to his latest feature film, Eyes Wide Shut. So we picked screenplays, notes, storyboards, production photographs, and they pretty much remain in place. So we have this collection, and then we find, of course, always different architectural surroundings. Can be classical museums, one-story buildings, 2- or 3-story buildings. Here at Cineteca we are dealing with 4 floors. And it's always the question how to lay out our museum narration in the space. Let's say usually we would tend to favor a chronological approach, because this exhibition is telling Stanley Kubrick's, or the story about Stanley Kubrick as film director in a chronological approach. So this is what we would try to achieve, but it's also possible to group more theme-related. Stanley Kubrick's oeuvre contains several films dealing with war, anti-war movies. You could also group together films like The Shining and The Clockwork Orange, say. We find groups of materials relating to his unrealized projects. So this is kept together more or less. But of course, it's a great challenge to adapt to the particular architectural surroundings. And we also are dealing with facilities that vary in ground floor and wall space. So here at Cineteca, I think we have up to 1,400 square meters, which is pretty big space to fill. We have also been dealing with venues that are like smaller, like 600 or 800 square meters, which makes it necessary to exclude elements, say 10 or 20% of elements have to be excluded. But I think during the past years we were always able to maintain our museum narration, you can say. And then to a very vast degree, it depends on the scenography. So usually we are collaborating with institutions who either have their own staff scenographer, or, as we see here at Cineteca, bring in freelance scenographers who have experience in dealing with museum locations. And then, well, it's kind of up to them to come up with some basic ideas, how they want the layout to shape up and how they want the sequence of rooms and which, say, scenographic elements they consider as relevant or important or significant to reflect upon the films or the content that is shown in the galleries. And during the past years, we have sort of established some crucial elements that we find, for instance, here in Mexico City, but we also found similar environments in Sao Paulo. Say 2001 often is represented in kind of white, shiny galleries. The Clockwork Orange milk bar setting is a crucial element for this particular movie. Barry Lyndon, who's dealing with historical subject matter, is often dressed up with, say, fabrics that tend to represent this epoch in which the film narration takes place. So there are similarities, but also changes. And for me, as a touring manager and consultant for the institutions who are presenting this exhibition, it's always interesting, of course, to see which new ideas come into place or which ideas from previous venues are taken over to this venue. So the question is how we represent the artist Stanley Kubrick in relation to the man Stanley Kubrick. I don't think that we ever made a clear distinction here. I mean, it was always our goal, or we tried to achieve, to represent the artist Stanley Kubrick, the filmmaker, the director, the screenplay writer, the editor, because as a film museum, this is our core interest. I mean, what we want to achieve is to present the audience in Frankfurt, but obviously now also abroad, in collaboration with local institutions, kind of, look behind the scenes of one of the most outstanding filmmakers of the last century. So it is kind of a look in his workshop. And we were, of course, very lucky that we gained access to his personal estate. So his the house where he used to live and to produce and to write and to meet and to rehearse and to edit. So a lot of items are coming from this personal background, but they are elements that reflect or represent his filmmaker's achievements. So this exhibition is not about Stanley Kubrick, the husband or the father or the uncle. It's really about the filmmaker, and that the exhibition touches the audience is probably most likely because Stanley Kubrick himself was so personally involved in his art and his filmmaking. And if you see the dozens or hundreds of production photographs who depict him in conversation with his main cast or with cameramen or studying screenplays, then you can grasp a sense of this intensity that probably was necessary to achieve masterpieces as he did.